Amen to that. Thank you very much, you guys. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story here in New York City, where former President Trump came into the belly of the beast and told his supporters, which was a larger crowd than people were expecting, we're going to win. Watch this.
You want to make it big, you had to be in New York. But sadly, this is now a city in decline. And I'm here tonight to declare that we are going to turn New York City around, and we are going to turn it around very, very quickly.
Well, he was speaking, of course, to people in deep blue Bronx, a state in, the whole state of New York where a Republican hasn't won in the presidential race in 44 years. Ronald Reagan did it by 2% in 1980. You see the former president throwing hats out to the crowd last night. President Biden won New York by 23 points in 2020. Recent polling shows that his lead in New York now is down to just 9 points. So that's why you see Trump fired up and interested in his home state where he was born and raised. Here's some of the coverage of last night's rally. Interesting to hear this. Watch.
Well, certainly a bigger crowd than I think Democrats would like to see, particularly given this is one of the bluest counties in the entire country. You had people saying he doesn't belong here, he should get out. But you also had a number of people, voters, who told me that they had supported Biden in 2020. They were very unhappy, particularly with the state of the economy, and they were looking for alternatives, namely former President Donald Trump.
Fascinating. All right, let's bring in our panel. Clay Travis, Outkick founder, Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst, and Philippe Reines, a former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Strategic Communications for Hillary Clinton. I want to start here with just a very quick take, if I may, from each one of you. Your reaction to what you saw last night. I'll go down the row. Clay, let me start with you.
I thought it was an incredible moment to potentially expand the battleground. Martha, you said minus 23 was the 2020 result. As you mentioned, the Siena poll has him at minus 9. Might not happen for him in New York, but if Trump were to lose New York by single digits, he adds these states. This was the margin in 2020. New Mexico minus 11, Virginia minus 10, New Hampshire minus 7, Minnesota minus 7. That was the results in 2020. If New York is a single digit, we're talking about expanding the playbook and adding at least 4 more potential states, which is 4 more pathways to Trump potentially knocking out Joe Biden in 2024.
Gianno, what was your take on what you saw in the South Bronx last night?
Well, I thought what Donald Trump has been doing has been exceptional. One of the things that I think people have been talking about is don't believe the polls, because if it shows him up with black supporters, it's a lie. It's a red herring. They've been saying don't believe the data. Don't believe the people that you see on television that say that they support Donald Trump and they happen to be black or Hispanic. Well, the numbers don't lie. The data doesn't lie. CNN polling this month showed that Trump was up with black voters 25% from 18 to 49. And when you looked at that crowd, the people that you saw were very young people, black, Hispanic, and some older individuals as well. But what I'm saying is it's reflected in the data, and he should continue to go. New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Baltimore. He needs to get out there and build a new bridge for the Republican Party.
Philippe, if you were working on the Biden campaign and you watched this last night, what would you tell them today about what they need to do?
Martha, I hope you know me well enough by now that I try to call balls and strikes. There are days that you invite me on that I dread the topic. When it's immigration, I know we're in trouble. There are all sorts of things that I try to put a brave face on, but I admit there are problems. This is not one of them. If Donald Trump wants to go someplace where a couple thousand people, I'll grant you that, come and want to see what he's like, some of whom legitimately are interested and are disaffected with what Biden is doing, while there are equal number of people, a couple hundred people 100 feet away who are yelling at him while he's regaling the crowd about building a ice rink and a golf course decades ago. That's great. And if the only reason he's there is because he's on trial 100 blocks south, have at it. What I would tell them last night is that if Donald Trump wants to go to Chicago and Atlanta and do this kind of stuff, have at it. He lost New York in 2016. He lost in 2020. He's going to lose in 2024. If he wants to run in 2028 and 2032, he's going to keep on losing. Okay. This is not the problem.
You know
this is not the solution.
I'm really intrigued.
This is
really
a side show.
Gianno, go ahead.
Yeah. And I'm not dismissing the minority
aspect. Hold on, let's have a conversation. Go ahead, Gianno.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued. Have you been around open cans of paint? Because that was a completely delusional statement. What you're saying is not fact-checked. It is not what the data is showing right now. And this leaked just like you and many members of your party who say that the black voters are out of reach for Donald Trump. Well, what we're saying is something totally different, because Joe Biden has jacked up the economy. Migrants have come into communities and drained resources. And the fact that the open border, black voters are now asking, are they trying to dilute our votes by bringing all these new people here, as they call them, newcomers? Yes, this is what is going on. You guys need to open up your eyes and see what's right in front of you. Donald Trump is making a real play here.
All right, it's fascinating because, Clay, you brought up an interesting point. Let me just go around the horn here. Clay, you raised, I think, on X, do you think that Biden could go into any deep red county and get anywhere near this number of people to show up? Clay?
I don't think he could. And by the way, this is fun. Great start to the holiday weekend here. I'm going down, Martha, as soon as I finish this interview. I'm getting in the car with my 3 kids and my wife. We're driving down to the Florida Gulf Coast, which I think has the best beaches anywhere in the continental United States. It is a deep red area, south of Alabama, right on the panhandle there with Florida. Joe Biden couldn't get 200 people to show up at a rally anywhere along that Florida Gulf Coast.
Clay, you know that's not true.
Biden couldn't go.
He was in New Hampshire the other day, Philippe, and nobody was there.
You get him to come down. I'll do the opening introduction for him so he can get 5 people to show up.
In the Bronx.
45% of Kansas voted for Joe Biden.
All right, so maybe he should go to Kansas and get people excited. Let me just jump in here, Philippe. You know, one of the things that I noticed that I think is very interesting is that what happened in 2016 was that Trump went places where other people, including Hillary Clinton, wasn't going. He went to the rural areas in Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. And I remember, because I covered the race, people saying, we haven't had a candidate come here in forever. Nobody cares about us out here in the sticks. I think that's what he's going to do now. He's doing it in places that Democrats take for granted, and I think that's why you saw so many people show up last night, Philippe.
Yeah, no, let me bifurcate before my Twitter feed has the word smuggle over it 500 times. There's a difference between what I think last night was a stunt and reading too much into it today, and a realignment that has been going on for years, but particularly we're seeing it now. Look, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert, certainly more than anyone else on this panel, about minority voting. But it is clear that it is eroding in terms of support for Democrats. Probably, I think in its simplest terms, because in general, the entire American electorate is coming down to very simple, basic divisions between economy, whether it's working for you or whether it's not. You just see certain groups coming to it slower because they have a certain more affinity or loyalty to one party or the other. That is very serious, and that is going to continue to happen. Joe Biden would go to the Panhandle or to Kansas or anywhere, and he absolutely would get people there. We all know that. He's going to go to.
I don't know that. Wait, Philippe, did you see New Hampshire? Did you see New Hampshire the other night? He went to New Hampshire.
Let's not go down this.
And the folks who wrote about it said, is social distancing still going on? Because there's just a few people here, and they're all like 6 feet apart.
Donald Trump's crowds in 2020 were huge. They were huge.
They were huge. Go ahead, Gianno.
I happen to be an expert on minority voting. I am black. I know what is being said. And even if you think yesterday's event was symbolic, there's black folks and Hispanic people all across this country who silently support Trump, who are thinking about support Trump. Seeing all of those people there, you've seen rappers and all kind of folks there, and that audience, they're going to say, well, maybe I should get out and get vocal.
And there were black people outside the park who were yelling at them to get out of there.
I'll just say one thing.
Because they had 4 years of Trump.
Everybody.
And they did nothing for them.
The people
and they had 4 years of Biden and they're suffering.
Okay, you can tell them whatever you want, but they're going to vote. They're going to do whatever they want. But I'll just say this quickly. I was watching, on all the different channels, the coverage, and I heard reporters on a number of channels say, I kind of came here thinking that it was going to be a bunch of, so-called MAGA people bust in here. But these people, they're all from the Bronx. And
that's right.
I thought that was very interesting.
Oh, I don't think anyone questioned that.
Well, no, they did. They were like, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez says, they're going to truck people in from outside, and they're going to bring them all in. So we're going to talk to actually some folks who were there last night.
I just think there's too much being read into it.
I would also say this,
too much being
read
into it.
You can put
Philippe.
side by side the speech that Biden gave to the Morehouse grads and you compare it to what Trump said in New York City, who is selling American exceptionalism to white, black, Asian, Hispanic people, and who is selling American victimization? I think America's ready for opportunity
who is lowering
and not pandering to
poverty?
them, and not
who is
and
raising
not
you're getting your facts in the back of a cereal box.
creating the
You
idea
know what?
that, but what
we're
you're
going to
selling
have you guys
is
back for a few
victimization.
blocks
People are
next
ready
time
for
because one
optimism.
block is clearly not enough for this great panel, great discussion. Philippe, thank you.
Thank you
Gianno,
all.
thank you. Clay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All have a
Have a good
fantastic
weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. Great to see all of you.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.